Welcome to BBC Schools Report. Today's report is about issues in Brazil. There are many social issues in Brazil. There is free education at all ages, but it is only compulsory to go to school for 8 years. This is the equivalent of primary school education in the UK. However, not all children go to school for those 8 years, due to lack of resources and schools near where they live. Poverty is also a problem in Brazil. The poorest 10% of people receive about 1% of the country's income, while the richest 10% receive 40% of the country's income. There is also a high infant mortality rate in Brazil, especially in the favelas. This is due to poor sanitation, bad education and low-income families. Next we will have Nia interviewing Mr. Bell about the economy. So, Mr. Bell, what are the economical issues facing Brazil today?
Well, probably the biggest one is their debt. I think they're currently $1.4 trillion in debt, and that debt's growing year by year.
Okay, and how is Brazil dealing with this debt?
Principally through raising of taxes from a variety of taxes across the economy, so more people having to tighten their belts, I guess.
How can Brazil reduce their debt?
Well, again, it's through taxes, it's through increasing the sales of the goods, the broad raw materials, particularly farm products and industrial products. So it's about improving their own economy.
So, I've heard there's the Olympics. What are the advantages of this?
Well, the Olympics, like the World Cup, I guess, is a big showcase for Brazil, and so it will show the country off to foreign investors who will come and hopefully invest in the country. And also, it's a big tourist attraction in itself, will bring in lots of money.
And what are the disadvantages of the Olympics?
Well, does the money perhaps that could be spent on other projects go to the Olympics? That money is perhaps not shared around, and there's a feeling sometimes that big business takes all the profit. And perhaps, as in the World Cup, the stadia become a sort of white elephant. I think the stadia of the World Cup where the finals were played is now a bus park for the municipal bus company there, because it's uneconomic to open it for anything else, so they're just using it as a glorified car park. So sometimes that huge event can be perhaps a little milestone around a country's neck, but hopefully for Brazil it will be a success.
So is Brazil in any serious states?
It's got lots of serious problems, I think. It's still one of the largest economies in the world. I think it's in the top 10 economies in the world, and it's an expanding economy. Let's be optimistic. Hopefully they'll get it right.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next I'll be discussing the environmental issues. One of the main environmental issues facing Brazil today is deforestation. The Amazon is being cut down because Brazil's agricultural business is growing. When the forest is cut down, many species lose their habitats and there is an increased presence of CO2. Another problem is pollution, which again is caused by deforestation. Other reasons include waste. Over 161,000 tonnes of solid waste is being wasted per day, and it's becoming increasingly more difficult to dispose of it. Brazil are trying to find solutions to these problems by reducing the carbon emissions and preventing environmental issues such as deforestation. Next, we have crime. Thank you.
Crime. Crime is a huge problem all over Brazil. More than 50,000 people are murdered each year, including many police officers. There were 114 police officers killed in Rio de Janeiro in 2014 alone. There is also a massive drugs problem in Brazil, mainly in the favelas. The police are trying to stop this by building huge walls around the favelas to manage it better. However, the residents of these favelas are not very happy about this because they feel that they are being contained and segregated. Also, the drug problem in the favelas is harder to manage because of how close the houses are together. This makes it harder because the police cannot pinpoint the source of the drugs because of how many houses there are in such a small area. Many of Rio de Janeiro's slums or favelas are controlled by vicious drug cartels. Although stray bullets are the cause for many deaths, murder is also very common for a death in the favelas. Next we have Lucy.
We will now be concentrating on one of the major cities in Brazil, Sao Paulo.
In Sao Paulo, there are many problems in regards to housing. According to the GeoCases website, 32% of the world's urban population live in slums, with Sao Paulo having the largest slum population in South America. Urban poverty concentrates on two types of housing, favelas and quarticos. Many favelas in Sao Paulo have been developed fairly recently. Heliopolis is the largest slum in Sao Paulo and was established around 30 years ago. People originally came to this location to play football, but they later began building shacks, and this caused the favela to be established. According to the GeoCases website, about 100,000 people live in Heliopolis in either absolute poverty or semi-poverty.
Next we have traffic with Charlotte.
Brazil is facing many issues caused by both physical and human factors. This is an escalating problem that is affecting the development of the country. Sao Paulo is a prime example of these impacts. Transport is a problem that Sao Paulo is tackling every day. The environmental impacts are caused by the CO2 emissions produced by cars. As a result of the dense congestion in Sao Paulo, the Brazilian government brought forward plans to construct a highway that links Sao Paulo to the surrounding cities. The Rodinel Mario Covas was built in time for the FA Cup 2014 and took a total of 12 years to be accomplished. This highway is otherwise known as Sao Paulo Metropolitan Ring Road, and it covers a distance of 177 kilometres. This highway will reduce congestion, contributing to the pollution produced, and will prevent the usual 100 kilometres to 200 kilometres traffic jams. Around 1.1 million vehicles drive into Sao Paulo every day. The ring road will connect and run through 12 Brazilian states linking to Sao Paulo, forming part of the Pan-American Highway. Rodinel Mario Covas covers the route that is designed to reduce the congestion of vehicles and tackle this problem. As a result, further fuel consumption is necessary and fuel emitted has increased. This therefore has a significant impact on the people. Smog caused by heavy pollution can cause respiration problems affecting their health. This problem is being managed by further developing the transportation system in Sao Paulo and creating plans to further which will reduce pollution produced by congestion of vehicles.
Thank you, Charlotte.
The final issue we looked at is probably the most current, the drought in Sao Paulo. It is the worst facing the economic city in 80 years, as reported by ClimateGov. Sao Paulo should be in the midst of its rainy season. However, temperatures within the economical capital are escalating and rainfall is well below the average. All this is combining to create a formidable drought that has been affecting Sao Paulo since early 2013. The two main reservoirs that supply the economic capital are well below their full capacity, and consequently the people there are having to ration their water. The seriousness of the drought has only recently been brought into perspective, and this is seemingly due to the negligence of the Brazilian government. The issue of water shortage seems to have been sidelined during the election in 2014, and that is believed to be the main reason why Sao Paulo is facing such an uncertain predicament. It is believed that if the issue is being combated from the start, Brazil may currently be facing a less serious situation. Proper management of the available water earlier would not have increased the amount, but have meant that they would have water for longer, and this could have seen them through to the next bout of rain. Currently, it is thought that Sao Paulo might only have enough water to last until June. As stated above, the situation was not managed sustainably from the start, with rationing being introduced in some areas and the residents not made aware. In other parts of Sao Paulo, residents were given the option of using less water, and in return they were offered cheaper tariffs. These vague and half-hearted attempts did not solve the situation, and only recently have plans been enacted. Many of Sao Paulo's occupants find themselves facing rationing of water on a daily basis. Though the issue is no longer being ignored, problems to do with water supplies to hospitals and those who live without the means to buy more water have yet to be approached. It is feared that if the latter is not addressed, then these people will resort to drinking from the polluted rivers that flow through Sao Paulo. They could potentially contract diseases from these infected sources. Sao Paulo is rapidly running out of time, and these problems need to be addressed. Without plans, the problems will only multiply. Sao Paulo is facing a problematic time, and without plans of action are unlikely to come out of it unscathed.
Thank you, Jess. That's all we have about Brazil. Thank you for watching.